Animal Farm 2, Part 23. 12:30 p.m. Erasmus was gone for the day helping his parents do tasks around their home and then fixing his mom's car with his brother. She had the day to write alone with all the kids safely in school. Her phone was still broken, but she had email contact and was able to borrow Erasmus or the girl's phone when necessary for phone calls. She had been trying to contact the Human Rights Watch to find out what could be done to protect her family in Cameroon before the book was published. It was nearing its end, and she would soon need to send that email to an agent, and then the rain would begin. Last night had been a terrible storm. Rain pounding on a Quonset metal roof is magnified. Crystal loved living in a shop and dreamed of opening her bedroom door, coffee magically already in hand, standing overlooking her workshop below. A renovated barn would be amazing, with living space above and a workshop below. But for now, they were in this shop, and this shop was a small old house with many additions. A relic of the past existing between two new cinder block buildings. It was a great location on what she would consider to be perhaps the third main road running north to south through Vernon. It was the road people took to avoid highway and secondary main road. Yes, sorry. It also had a large walking path that allowed for safe travel for pedestrians and cyclists. With the new electric scooters available on every corner to rent, this spot offered interesting sights. Crystal Dawn loved sitting outside, watching everything. Pondering could not occur indoors, as thoughts become trapped, but outdoors she could connect to the world. So many fantastic porch ponderings have occurred throughout time just by sitting with nature and pondering. Those who seek the truth will have it revealed to them. This was promised. Between the Bible, the 1889 Book of Business, the People's Home Library of 1915, and George Orwell, and endless shows every night of every learning topic on Curiosity Stream, Crystal Dawn had truly been given answers to every question she sought. Just this morning before Erasmus left, they had had another uncomfortable morning. Once again, she had mentioned throughout the show as they drifted to sleep that she felt like she couldn't talk to him because she had something to say but could not find the right words because every combination of words to express that thought had been said before, and she already knew where that conversation led. She wanted to know when he was going to make time for her. Now this, of course, as mentioned, a sensitive topic. I will not waste time with emotions and feelings, but rather on facts. They had busy lives, between running 2 businesses, 3 children full-time, and 3 usually on weekends, but now apparently not for weeks on end, with no mention of communication other than a mediator, which was good. They needed to get something in writing. But it was made apparent no one actually enforces it if the parent refuses visitation. Crystal had a friend in the U.S. named Jacob. He had recently made the most soulful post describing his pain in not seeing his children in 2 years, I believe it was. She just refused. The children in the picture must have been perhaps 4 and 6. They were young, too young to be able to demand to see their father or understand the truth as to why they hadn't seen him in so long. Some people did not experience that feeling as a child and could not understand these situations. Crystal Dawn had lived so many lives she could relate to many things. When she was perhaps 8, she decided she no longer wanted to see her father. One night, in front of their home in Calgary, on the front steps, her aunt, her father's own sister, told her a story of her father from the past that made Crystal decide in her child-sized mind that her father was a bad man. In the story, her father had lived in Ontario, which may have been Toronto specifically, but there were so many suburbs, it was hard to say for certain. He had encountered a young boy on the street with a pet raccoon. Allegedly, he offered to buy the raccoon, and the boy said no, so he took the raccoon. She missed out on every weekend visitation with him for a year because they were swept before they were swept away to British Columbia because of a child's sense of righteousness that it was wrong to take a raccoon from a kid. Her mother never talked sense into her. Granted, there were also memories of times he would stand outside the house in the dark yelling at her mother. In the end, neither were saints. He was the kind of man that admired the Japanese and wanted an obedient woman. She just wanted to draw close to Jehovah and live a good life, studying his word and spreading the good news of the kingdom. He figured her faith meant she could never leave him. He straight up said that. He was an interesting man that lived in a miserable history that he struggled to get past. His parents were cruel, the foster homes were hard, and he was alone. Had 2 kids and they were taken by their mom. He got married and had 2 more and lost them. The biggest point of contention was the bloody house. A man's home is his castle, he would say. Can you imagine weekend visitation with your dad, and he drives past your old house every time, telling you the current value and how much money they would have had if she hadn't left him? My goodness, there were even times he tried to complain about their sexual life because apparently certain acts were not allowed. He was in his 20s during the 1970s and non-religious, so sexual stuff was no issue. One weekend on a road trip, they discovered a hitchhiker's bag on the side of the road full of porn. They were old porn with bush. It was actually quite kind of her father to let her sit quietly in the back, gaping at these images while he and her brother conversed in the front. Ah, sexuality. Have we made it back there yet? Delightful! In 1984, it is explained that sex had been perverted in the mind of women. It was a shameful, dirty act committed by those who lived in filth and sin with no self-control. Oh my goodness, it's time! There is a song. This song was Crystal's mantra throughout her first 19 years. It was how she drew close to God. The original existed in a few minds and cannot be published in the entirety for copyright infringements. So here's the 5 never forgotten verses. Song number 191, Make the Truth Your Own. By putting God first and Him actively praising, this world and its friendship you'll lose. To those without faith, it is truly amazing that God's righteous ways you did choose. Make the truth your own. Shun the world, leave it alone. If your body members you control, you make known that the truth is your own. That's right. The congregations used to sing praises to Jehovah for controlling their body's members. Masturbation, self-abuse, I believe was the old term. There are people who believe it is impossible for an individual to not masturbate, and it is guaranteed that there are indeed people in our world that receive absolutely no pleasure from their own touch. There were many things that had changed over time. That was evident in Crystal's history books. Hallelujah is wrong. It's actually Alleluia. If you're going to sing praises, use the right words. AD 1611 Bible says so. God's name is Jehovah, or Yahweh in Hebrew. Fact, if you're going to talk to the God of the Bible, try to get to know him. He has a name. The word matrix used to mean womb. Now something like an intercellular matrix is a fine webbing of simple cells. One does not imagine a womb when thinking of the word matrix. 1 tablespoon was equivalent to 4 teaspoons. Just as 2 plus 2 equals 5 because someone said so, so over time we all came to know it to be so. The world of 2022 was one that was made by men with power and money being its chief concerns. Even the original ideals of mankind were lost in the generations. It was once taught to the generation of 1889, "Young men, you are architects of your own fortunes. Rely upon your own strength of body and soul. Take for your star self-reliance. Don't take too much advice. Keep at your helm and steer your own ship. And remember that the great art of commanding is to take a fair share of the work. Think well of yourself. Strike out. Assume your own position. Put potatoes in a cart over a rough road, and the small ones go to the bottom. Rise above the envious and jealous. Fire above the mark you intend to hit. Energy, invincible determination. With the right motive energy, invincible determination with the right motive are the levers that move the world. Be in earnest, be self-reliant, be generous, be civil, read the papers, advertise your business, make money, and do good with it. Love your God and fellow men. Love, truth, and virtue. Love your country and obey its laws." J.L. Nichols, The Business Guide or Self-Methods of Business. This book contains some of the wisest words ever written for people, all people. While terribly outdated, as Canada was not even an independent country yet, this book was all that a person needed to go out into the world and be a good person, not only surviving, but thriving. The People's Home Library was a massive book with a collection of 3 books. These are The People's Home Medical Book by T.J. Ritter, The People's Home Recipe Book by Alice G. Kirk, and The People's Home Stock Book by W.C. Fair. With the 3rd book being the most original Bible of 1611 that could be gotten, these 3 books contained all the knowledge required for an individual. She hoped her children would see the importance of such books for more than just their age and cool random facts their mother spouted from time to time in her readings. The movie The Book of Eli demonstrated the value of the knowledge held within books if ever a time occurred when we are without the means of power we are now reliant on. It was a little surprising the book he held was a Bible, but made sense that the bad guy would want a book of power. A practical, normal person would rather have hoped to attain a book of farming to grow food, or perhaps a book of medical advice and natural medicines. These would be the books of true value to a person. Those books offered physical care, while the Bible offered mental and emotional care. It had occurred to Crystal reading the Bible during the game of pool that the songs of Psalms were the kind of words she had in her head for her partner Erasmus. They were the loving words of Celine Dion, because he was her reason to get out of bed and sleep through the night. She did adore him, and most definitely always wanted to floor him. The sweet words of Paul Simon rang through her head in her imagination. Oh, this is going to be fun. I hear the drizzle of the rain, like a memory it falls, soft and warm continuing, tapping on my roof and walls. And from the shelter of my mind, through the window of my eyes, I gaze beyond the rain-drenched streets to England where my heart lies. My mind's distracted and diffused. My thoughts are many miles away. They lie with you when you're asleep, and kiss you when you start your day. And a song I was writing is left undone. I don't know why I spend my time writing songs I can't believe, with words that tear and strain to rhyme. And so you see I have come to doubt all that I once held as true. I stand alone without beliefs. The only truth I know is you. Simon and Garfunkel, Kathy's song. That's how Crystal Dawn felt about Gerasimos. This is how she wanted him to think of her. Oh goodness, another one. Okay. Yeah. What a dream I had, pressed in organdy, clothed in crinoline of smoky burgundy, softer than the rain. I wandered empty streets down, past the shop displays. I heard cathedral bells tripping down the alleyways as I walked on. And when you ran to me, your cheeks flushed with the night. We walked on frosted fields of juniper and lamplight. I held your hand, and when I awoke and felt you warm and near, I kissed your honey hair with my grateful tears. Oh, I love you, girl. Oh, I love you. Simon and Garfunkel, for Emily, wherever I may find her. See, Crystal Dawn had a dreamy, poetic mind that felt great emotions, typically experienced by those who have open heart chakras. They wear their heart on their sleeve and experience all that life has to offer, offering love to all, used by some, unappreciated by many. Some went so far as to call it a mental illness and medicated those who felt too strongly. Surely, it was easier to medicate them than to learn what was occurring and why. How could someone possibly understand why if they don't even ask? Emotions were not bad. They are the foundation of reason because they tell us what to value. Crystal Dawn was once told she must be on lithium. She only knew this word in conjunction with batteries and thought it was an amusing idea. Someone thought she was energized with battery power. It's not what they meant. Apparently lithium is also an antidepressant of some sort. Crystal had tried medication a few times, years back. It was terrible. Perhaps it was necessary at that time to stop crying, but once the hysteria ended, it just made her sleep. She would literally fall asleep at the city playground with her 4-year-old waiting for school to let out. That was not okay. Then her eldest won a bicycle at school. She couldn't even fake enthusiasm for such a wonderful thing to occur. She was numb. A numb shell that spent 4 hours a day taking public transport to get the children to and from school and daycare, and sat in therapy classes or appointments in between. Months of life were spent getting well, learning communication skills, gaining strength, and learning the physical and mental problems related to eating disorders and mental illness. Group therapy classes were wonderful, and showed the amazing variety of people struggling in our world every day with something as simple as eating food. Food was life-sustaining. Why was there such a problem with something that is necessary to preserve life? Crystal appreciated food, but strongly disliked it. She didn't like physical necessities. It sounded childish, but she preferred to do something because she wanted to by choice, and not due to a forced physical urge of necessity. It was much like one would wish to have bladder control, so as not to piss oneself randomly when the urge was present. Crystal preferred to eat when it was convenient to do so. It would not have her physical form impede what needed to be done. Everything else came first. The children, the cleaning, the work, everything. There were so many layers of complexity as to why Crystal didn't like food, at least not until after 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. preferably. But that would be a book of its own. Regardless, it was deemed as disordered eating, and when control was lost, no food entered her body. So it was quite detrimental to her health at times. Whether eating too much or too little, no extreme has ever been good, as there was balance required in all things.